I don't do New Year's resolutions. I don't really get the hype about New Year at the best of times. I find it all a bit odd, really. Just after it had all died down, I heard Jesus speaking to me about him being the bread of life. It made sense of a conversation I had with someone about New Year's resolutions. I've heard people talking about 2015, asking me what I feel for 2015, what do I sense God saying for this year, and so on. In all honesty, I have nothing for this year. I have no plans, no desires, other than I want to know Jesus himself. As far as tomorrow goes, I have nothing for that. It's today that is in my thoughts. So the other day, I had the words, "Give us this day our daily bread," pop into my mind. Actually, it's more like, "Give us this day our daily bread." The words "this day" were really prominent for me. It was like there are so many distractions, but this day is what really matters. Tomorrow will be here when it's here, and when tomorrow comes, that will be this day. But in the meantime, it's today, and tomorrow will come when it's good and ready. And today, God has provided the bread of heaven for today's needs, for mine and for the needs of others. I then began to think how Jesus said, "Don't worry about tomorrow," and how in the wilderness the Israelites were fed heavenly bread on a daily basis. But when they tried to save some of that day's bread for another day, it was rotten and spoiled when they went to eat it. And they hadn't understood that the daily bread from heaven was for this day. I found it really interesting reading these verses in Exodus. It's Exodus 16, verse 16 onwards. "This is what the Lord has commanded. Gather of it, each one of you, as much as he can eat. You shall each take an omer, according to the number of persons that each of you has in his tent." And the people of Israel did so. They gathered, some more, some less. But when they measured it with an omer, whoever gathered much had nothing left over, and whoever gathered little had no lack. Each of them gathered as much as he could eat. And Moses said to them, "Let no one leave any of it over till the morning." But they did not listen to Moses. Some left part of it till the morning, and it bred worms and stank. And Moses was angry with them. Morning by morning they gathered it, each as much as he could eat, but when the sun grew hot it melted. Now where it says whoever gathered much had nothing left over, and whoever gathered little had no lack, it didn't seem to matter how much or how little they had. The bread from heaven was sufficient for their need for that day. Almost as if the quantity they thought they were gathering was irrelevant. God would supply what they needed for that day. Manna means what, or what is it? And I wonder sometimes whether we are offered the bread of heaven on a daily basis and we ask the question, what is it? Not recognizing that Jesus is offering himself to us. Maybe we fail to recognize the bread of heaven and his provision for our needs in our everyday lives. Do we take the time to receive the bread of heaven, given for our needs and for the needs of others? I feel awkward talking to people about what I am thinking, as so many seem to have grand plans for this year, some that seem more earthly, some that seem more heavenly. I've actually got nothing, at least for tomorrow. I want to eat of the bread of life that comes from heaven today. And that's about it.